18% of the people in this county who are ready, willing, and able to work are denied that right. Many families have...
You are listening to a meeting in Scranton, Pennsylvania, where the people act.
The People Act. These are true stories, tape recorded in communities across the nation where people are working together to build a better future. The People Act is presented by the TV Radio Workshop established by the Ford Foundation and produced by the CBS Radio Network. Every voice and sound is real. No actors are used. Now, here again is your narrator, the noted reporter, Robert Trout.
We took our tape recorders to Scranton, Pennsylvania, to see a city fighting for its life. At dawn, we stood on a high hill just off the Scranton-Daleville Highway and looked down the scarred black ridges of the Lackawanna Valley, saw the raw slashes cut by the strip mines, the black mounds of coal refuse, heard the long, slow rattle of a coal train, saw the stacks of Scranton down in the valley poking through the gray smog. Our guide, businessman Gordon Evans, a big bluff Welshman who's lived in the valley over 60 years, began to talk about his city.
Right ahead of you is the central city. And then up and down the valley, and you'll notice it's a very narrow valley. All the coal lies in that valley.
All of it right in there?
In there. There is none to the east or none to the west, and we are east of the city now. And stretching then to the north and the south are all these other small communities, which were built around this industry, this coal mining.
Yes. Now, those black mounds over there, Gordon, those piles of slag, what are they anyway?
Those are culm banks. That's refuse accumulated in the process of preparing the coal for market.
Well, they're certainly not very beautiful, are they?
You may look at them, and they may not appear beautiful to you, but I see the work of thousands and thousands of individuals and my own ancestors piling up those culm banks, and they are anything but ugly to me. They mean a lot.
Well, I suppose culm banks are part of the story I'm looking for.
Yes, the culm banks, and the mines that made them, and the people who worked the mines, they are all part of the story. I'd like you to meet some of the people.
30 men and women of the Trinity Church Choir, dressed in their Sunday best, sit in pairs in a bare, low-ceilinged room. They sing an old Welsh hymn with an unpronounceable name.
Diddian Dean Sydd Fel Gas Welltin. That's the name. I don't know what it means myself. These are the Welsh of Scranton. They were the first into the mines. Then came the Irish, the Poles, and the Italians. Scranton really became a melting pot.
That music sounds very sad.
It is sad. These people have a tough life. Mining is a dirty job. I'd like to show you.
On the way into Scranton, Gordon Evans begins to talk about the valley.
Bob, you should have seen this town in the old days. Lots of jobs, people working, happy, contented. There used to be 20 big mines in the area. Now there are only 8. There used to be 40,000 jobs in coal mining. Now there are only 10,000 or fewer. But figures don't mean much. I'd like you to see it in terms of people. Let me take you and show you.
The sign on the door says Pennsylvania State Employment Service, PSES. Inside there's a long, low room divided by a rail. On one side, on wooden benches, scuffing their feet, not talking much, sit the unemployed. On the other, behind desks, looking weary and harried, the PSES interviewers. One by one, the jobless men file through the gate to the desks.
Mr. Ugella.
Yes, sir.
I noticed from your record that you contact the office considerably during the past year and a half. Is there any particular reason that you've been in here so often?
Well, I'm interested to get back to work again.
Have you done much on your own behalf in contacting employers locally?
Well, locally I have, but they don't have nothing to offer. I've even went out of town several times, but it's the same old story. You'll be hearing from us.
Well, the situation, you probably found it yourself. The opportunities for a man of your background and training are very few at the present time. The situation is very critical. I don't believe that at any time since before the war has the opportunities for jobs been so few in this area.
John Yagiela stands up wearily, shakes his head, turns away from the interviewer.
Oh, it's a lousy feeling. I found out many of the recruiters, after they recruit you in an interview, giving them a class history or your own history is the last you hear of them. And that certainly discourages you in a way.
Nothing for John Yagiela at home either. He knows he's in the way. He goes back downtown, drops in at the Legion, then the Spa.
I was born in Pennsylvania.
This is a regular hangout for some of these boys. You'll notice it's just an ordinary saloon with a long bar, stools for the boys to sit on, and there's Tex playing his guitar over there. You know, he composes as he goes along.
It lingers with me still.
John Yagiela leans on the bar, nursing a beer and passing the time of day with two old friends, the bartender and a newspaper man.
You two fellas were in war. I wasn't. I was just one of these guys that missed it. They classified me as a 4F'er. And there were so many factories here. You fellas was overseas fighting, and there were so many factories here begging for people to work.
Yeah, but here's the point now. We're old enough, we've seen that we were tots in the last war. Well, naturally, the last war, this town was good because of the coal industry. But now we got another war, the Korean affair. What is them kids going to do when they come back?
Back in the 20s, when the market was heavy, we had 40,000 miners working here. This is the reason why there are unemployed people a day. Those 40,000 dwindled down to 10,000 a day. We say we have idle people here. We want to know why we have them idle. I think it's very obvious why we have them idle. Our production is cut probably down to 25% of what it was. When you only produce 25% as much, you only need 25% as many people.
Me, I blame the politicians. That goes for Democrats and Republicans both.
I don't blame nobody. All I say is the men that got the cream, let them come back and put something in theirs. And the various, and bring them in and take like ourselves, pick up men off the street and say, what's wrong? There's plenty of land, invest, put them to work.
That's a pretty grim picture, Gordon. Unemployment, major industry falling away. It sounds pretty bad for this whole Scranton area.
Now, wait a minute. Hold your horses. You've seen only half of what we've been doing and are doing. You judge for yourself. We didn't really do anything until after the war. Some businessmen who saw the danger called a meeting at the Chamber of Commerce. A lot of them went, but they were very skeptical. I was one of the skeptical ones.
Gentlemen, I call the meeting to order. As you well know, we have a serious unemployment situation in this entire area, and I would like to have a discussion among you men as to where we go from here and what we're going to do about it. Can I hear from you, Mr. Ashford?
Well, Ted, I think one of the most important things we should do, try to get some industry interested in our Murray plant building, which, as you know, was building bomber wings during the war.
Do we have any definite proposition from the government or from any agency of the government as to the disposal of this building?
Well, I understand the government is willing to consider selling this building to community interest.
Have you a figure?
Well, I understand for about $1,200,000.
Well, now, as far as the building is concerned, that isn't a tremendous price. But I want to know, where is the money in sight, the $1,200,000 with conditions as they are in this area today?
The only way I could see that we could purchase this building from the government would be to buy locally, to raise the money and buy it from the government.
Drive?
Yes, the drive.
My, oh, my. We've heard so much of drives, and we've put so much money in the hole already. I don't know what success you're going to have with another drive.
Wait a minute. You're talking about drive. Sure, there's lots of drive, but we're going to have to take our coats off and do the unusual in this community, or we're not going to be successful. Now, here we are confronted right now with a large unemployment roll, and on top of that, the boys are returning from the service. They're returning from the defense areas, and our problem is growing day by day. This city is either going back or it's going forward on what we decide right here today.
Well, gentlemen, you're talking about the Murray Corporation building alone. I think our problem goes further than that. We should project a plan here which goes into the future. Not only the Murray building, but I think we ought to establish a plan here for other industries to locate here besides the Murray Corporation.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to say one more thing. I'm going to make a proposition here. I propose that we go out and raise $2,200,000 as a minimum, whether it's bonds or any other form. But I think that's where we should start right there, and I make that as a motion.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second the motion.
Gentlemen, you heard the motion, second. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor of such a motion, please give their consent by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary, the ayes have it so ordered, and that's the beginning.
Yes, that's how it began. I wasn't sure it would work, but I went along.
Well, did it work? What happened?
Well, it worked and it didn't work. This man, Roy Stauffer, is a local Chevrolet dealer. He kept after us all the time to get more buildings. He realized that we could fill them if we could get the buildings. But despite his efforts, it began to bog down a little bit.
People lost interest, the old story. Is that it?
Well, not exactly. We had been so active in these other drives that we weren't inclined to take this on as a permanent job, not realizing what a long-range program this is. We got down pretty low there. We got to need more money, and we still were confronted with this necessity. So it looked as if something had to be done about another organization and another drive. And that was started early in 1950.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to ask a question this time. In the past, who has been the big supporters of our plan?
Now, I might say to you that the base of the subscriptions isn't very broad. The money has been subscribed by a comparatively few people of the community.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I think our future plan should take in everyone in this walk of life.
Just what are you talking about? How are you going to raise this money?
Well, it has been suggested, of course, that we broaden the scope of the drive and include those who have not yet been touched. Probably some people who would not be able to subscribe to the extent of a $100 bond or a $1,000 bond. But remember, there are a lot of people here, and if we touch them all, we can raise money.
I understand that in Lackawanna County alone, there's better than a $200 million payroll, and certainly if we could go along on some payroll deduction plan on a certain percentage, I'm quite sure we could pick up a lot of money through contributions.
How much money are we going to raise? If we only dig up $200,000, that will mean only one plant, perhaps employing only 200 men. We have 20,000 people unemployed here. How much money are we going to raise, and how many plants are we going to build?
If we go out for $2 million and undergird this whole program with free money, then it means that our industrial situation is strengthened, and we can go out then and even borrow and continue this program for many years to come.
Please, gentlemen, don't go into this thing thinking that a miracle is going to happen. It's going to be good, hard plugging. And I believe we can convince the residents of this area from one end to the other, not only in the city of Scranton, but the whole of Lackawanna County, that this thing can be done, and I think it will be done.
It sounds all right, but so did the first meeting.
Yes, but you see, this time we were aiming at something different. We wanted everybody in on this. And we looked around for a key figure who would carry a lot of weight in the community. And finally, it was suggested that the present judge of Lackawanna County, Judge Hoban, be asked to head the planning committee. He accepted the leadership and quickly called a meeting of that committee at the Hotel Casey.
We have before us a situation which must be tackled in a bold and decisive way unless we decide to let our community gradually drift downwards and disappear as an economic entity.
I think we ought to concentrate right now at the beginning on a name. I think if we get that name, we'll kind of feel that we're off to a good start. Now, I have no suggestion. I do have a lot of things running through my mind, but does anybody have a suggestion on a name?
This is Marlon Brennan, representative of District 50, United Mine Workers of America. I think we should have a dynamic short name, and I scribble out something here on paper. I don't know what the group may think of it. The long title is Lackawanna Industrial Fund Economy. I think we can get a better word than economy, perhaps enterprises. But anyway, the initials would spell out life, a dynamic title.
I think that's a pretty good notion, Marlon. I'd like to hear what the rest of the people think about that.
Gee, I like that very much. This word, life, I think that's it. I like that, Marlon, very much.
Let's not discuss this matter any further. Let's take the thing by the horns now and adopt that slogan. It's a brilliant slogan. Mr. Chairman, I move that we adopt that as the official name for this project.
I second the motion.
It doesn't seem to me that much more discussion is needed. Are you ready for the question? Those in favor of adopting the name LIFE, Lackawanna Industrial Fund Enterprises, for our effort, say aye.
Aye.
Contrary. The ayes have it, so ordered. Gentlemen, we're off.
We kicked off the New Life campaign with a rally at the Masonic Temple. 2,000 people came. People from all walks of life. Of course, they had to listen to a speech or two.
18% of the people in this county who are ready, willing, and able to work are denied that right. Many families have been forced to move out of the area. Many families have broken up by some member going elsewhere to seek means of making a livelihood. The cream of the crop, the young people, are forced to go elsewhere because there is no future for them in Lackawanna County. Let us face the facts. This area is economically sick. This area is in great distress. This area needs help and needs it very badly. Life is the result of many months of planning and the best thinking locally and the greatest challenge that any people have to meet and the answer to many, many prayers. Give and give and give to life.
Thank you very much.
Well, what happened after the rally?
We went out to collect from everybody in town. No matter who he was, it didn't matter. Well, you should have heard Phil Brady. He's with Local 81 IBEW. He really had a selling job to do.
Brother members, we have came up with a plan to raise $2 million, 1% of your salary to be deducted by your employer for a period of 1 year. I know you people are saying to yourselves, more money, more money. Gentlemen, we had to do something in order to erase 20,000 unemployed people. Get out now and do what you can in order that this campaign will be the biggest success of any campaign ever run in Scranton and Lackawanna County.
Once people began to get the idea, to see that they were part of this thing, it spread. It really did spread. Of course, the ladies got in on it, too.
We must remember that this is something different than we've ever done before. It's bigger, and we cannot fail.
Some big money-raising event or something?
Will we have a card party?
I think that's the easiest way to raise money. Well, we could arrange to have at least one ticket sent to every one of the 1,000 members and then see if they could sell one or two more tickets.
I have a better idea than that.
Well, Madam President, I think beside having a card party, we could have several other forms of entertainment in which we might raise more money, such as selling chances and including a bake sale and various other things.
That bake sale sounds good. That people always are willing to make food, and people certainly want to buy food.
You know the fame of Elm Park Church and their women and their apple pies. Maybe they'd make apple pies for us.
Why don't we get Flo Owens to make those apple pies, and the party will surely go over if we get her selling pies. I think that would be a wonderful.
Once we got going, we didn't overlook anybody. Not even the school children. They gave. You know, we appealed for contributions in 7 languages, including Polish.
Co to jest LIFE? Organizacja to the Lackawanna Industrial Fund Enterprises. LIFE powstała w tym celu.
It was quite a campaign. You can hear, we even had our own song.
Yes, how did you make out?
Well, we took in over $2 million in contributions, free money, to be loaned without interest.
Well, now tell me one more thing, Gordon. What does it all add up to, all this money and effort and enthusiasm?
What does it add up to? 23 new plants, 8,500 new jobs, $20 million added to the payroll. The whole area is up on its toes now, fighting.
It was evening. We stood on the hill again, looking into the dark valley, looking down at Scranton, watching the lights flick on, watching the glow of a smoldering culm pile.
This is Scranton. We're not going to permit this to become a ghost town. There's too much at stake here, too much involved in the way of investment and life. And there's too much virility and spirit left. Oh, no. This will never become a ghost town.
You have just heard The People Act, narrated by Robert Trout, a documentary series presented by the TV Radio Workshop established by the Ford Foundation and produced by the CBS Radio Network. These programs are under the sponsorship of the National Committee for the People Act. Here is the committee's director, Elmore McKee.
The people of Scranton have shown what can happen when citizens tackle a problem together. We would welcome your reactions to this story. And if you feel it has a bearing upon a problem in your community and you would like to help meet it, won't you write us at the People Act Center, State College, Pennsylvania? Dr. Milton S. Eisenhower and his associates there will try to put you in touch with someone in your vicinity qualified to consult with you. And if you wish a script or a record of today's program, please write us at the People Act Center, State College, Pennsylvania.
The People Act is produced by Irving Gitlin, edited by Fred Freed. Tape recordings for today's program were made in Scranton, Pennsylvania by reporter Ob Weston. Original music by Norman Lockwood, conducted by Alfredo Antonini. Join us again next week when The People Act in Seattle, Washington.